Recording in progress.
So it looks like the Fat Jab is making a one-man business a billionaire. Pretty crazy. Let's jump into this story. There's two reasons why this story really hit home for me. One is the concept of this is something that I was fascinated and would love to have done. Two, because they talk about peptides basically, and I have done peptides. I am on peptides. And I'm going to give you guys my experience and exactly these peptides that they're talking about. And I'll tell you about it. But let's jump into this. So, a few years ago, Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI ChatGPT, said something that sounded like science fiction. A one person billion-dollar company was coming. People nodded and moved on. Then Matthew Gallagher built a $400 million business from his house in Los Angeles alone with a startup of $20,000 and a stack of AI tools. The story is real, and it definitely matters more than the headline. Sam Altman's not the only person that said this. If you watch a lot of these AI podcasts like Peter Diamandis, they do a really great podcast. I think it's called Moonshots. And they've been talking about this for 2 years that there's going to be a 1 to 3 man team using the power of AI that will build a $1 billion plus valuation company with just a couple people. And I don't have the research on me, but if you go back like to say the 80s, it took like at least 1,000 people to create a $1 billion company. And then the social media era, say Instagram, I think they did it with like 25 people. So as technology has improved, the amount of people that required to build a $1 billion evaluation has become less and less. And now it's literally going to be one man shows, one man businesses. And that's why we pay attention to AI. And that's why I started this channel. I'd love to be one of those people. No idea how to do it, but let's dig into this and see. Um, all right. So Gallagher is 41. He grew up in a trailer park in September 2024, like just 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago. He launched MedV, a telehealth company connecting people with GLP-1 weight loss drugs. So, for the most part, those are delivered via injection as a peptide. You've probably heard a lot about peptide. Think Ozempic and Wegovy territory. Now we have Manjaro, we have tirzepatide, we have retatrutide. They keep making them better and more useful and more productive. They work better. Anyways, the class of drugs that rewired the entire conversation about obesity. A lot of, I mean, tons of. Have you noticed how many celebrities are losing weight? Yeah, this is how they're doing it. And it's not that expensive. I'll get into my personal experience soon. So he started with 20,000 and zero employees. Within a year, he had 250,000 customers, 401 million in revenue, and a 16.2% net margin. For reference, that's a $65 million in profit alone. His main competitor, Hims and Hers, did 2.4 billion in revenue last year with 2,442 employees. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. And a 5.5% net margin, roughly a third of MedV's. Crazy, huh? MedV is currently generating about $3 million a day. Wow. The only person Gallagher has ever hired is his brother. $3 million a day with his brother. Damn. I mean, yeah, it's crazy, right? It's just hard to believe, hard to fathom that this is even possible. But you know what? That is why we need to stay on top of AI. And like I've always said, I've been saying for a long time that I think if you're older, you have the experience and you can use AI to do the heavy lifting. I think there's an advantage almost being older with AI than it used to be with learn to code generation where it's like, oh, you had to be born with a computer in your, in your hand. Anyways, so what actually did the work? Let's be specific because vague AI built it coverage misses the point, and I hate that. Yeah, he did it with AI. Gallagher used ChatGPT, Claude, and Grok to write code. I've created my own GLP peptide app using Claude and Lovable. I started with Lovable, moved it to Claude. I still use it, and all my friends use it because it's the best app out there, but it's private. I've never made it available or public. Anyways, so he used ChatGPT, Claude, Grok to write code, built the website, and generate all the copy, sales copy. AI voice tools handled inbound customer service. Mid-Journey and Runway created the images and video ads. Custom bots monitored business performance in real time. The smart move, and this is the thing most coverage buries, was that he didn't build, he outsourced everything, regulated, licensed physicians, prescription processing, pharmacy fulfillment, shipping, compliance. 2 third-party platforms handled all of it. What MedV owned was the customer relationship, branding, website, paid media, checkout, service. That's it. AI ran those functions. Partners handled everything requiring a medical license. So here's the crazy thing is I thought about creating a GLP peptide business like a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago when I first started learning about peptides, because I knew it was going to be huge. But I was just like, how do you deal with all the regulations and the medical? And I was like, I don't even want to get into that. It just sounds like too much hassle. Well, this guy figured it out. And maybe I should have just went down that rabbit hole. Probably still should. So, let's keep going. Now for the part that most coverage glossed over because it's the part that makes the story honest. On February 20th, 2026, the FDA issued a warning letter to MedV. The issue, misleading marketing around compounded semaglutide, suggesting the company was the manufacturer of the drugs. Hold on. Yeah, my dog needed to get out. Where were we? Marketing around compounding some of this, suggesting the company was the manufacturer of the drugs and implying FDA approval of products that hadn't been evaluated. These are real violations. Important context, MedV wasn't singled out. The FDA sent similar letters to more than 30 telehealth companies that same period. The entire compounded GLP-1 industry was operating in a gray zone as drug shortage rules evolved. Does this invalidate the story? No. Does it mean move fast and fix later? Has consequences even at this scale? Yes. Speed and compliance are genuinely in tension here, and that's worth knowing. So here's the real deal. Companies that are creating some of these compounds, like Eli Lilly, know how much money is in this. They do not want you to be able to get it cheap, and they don't want you to be able to get it from, bro science people. But if you go back in time and you look at, say, the steroid revolution, it wasn't the doctors that knew the most. It was the people that were basically experimenting on themselves. And they would create forums and they would tell you through trial and error what worked and what didn't work. And then they would help you find sources and this and that. Peptides are amino acid chains. They're very easy to make and they go in and out of your body so pretty quickly. And the truth is if I really hate the medical industry because it is a machine that gives you bad information, sends you down the wrong path, and they just overprice everything when it shouldn't have to be. So the fact that you now can do the research and get information better than any doctor, that God complex, which I hate, really is kind of making doctors in the medical industry relatively irrelevant because they just want to charge you and prescribe you a bunch of garbage that doctors, a lot of times, and I have stories that I can go on and on where the medical industry and doctors almost screwed me, would have changed my life forever. But I always did my own research. And I refused to just be a sheep and listen to what they say. So, where was I? Yeah, does this invalidate the story? No, it does not, and that's worth knowing. Okay, let's move on. My last image here. So what's the actual takeaway here? Not go build a telehealth company, or maybe you should. I think that's a pretty good takeaway. That's not the lesson. The lesson is about capital advantages. Big companies used to win because they could afford the staff, the infrastructure, the marketing budgets. AI has neutralized most of that. The gap between what one person can execute and what a company of hundreds can execute has narrowed dramatically in under 2 years. The question worth sitting with is, in your industry, in your niche, what used to require a team that AI could now handle with one person? Where are the gaps that a lean AI powered operation could fill that a lumbering big company is too slow to see? Gallagher found one. In 18 months, he proved the concept at a scale that is genuinely hard to process. Seriously, right? So, let me tell you my story really quick. I learned about GLP-1s and peptides, and when I first started taking peptides about a year and a half ago, it was for injury purposes. I'm a surfer, I'm 53 now, and I've dealt with a lot of injuries and this and that, and I learned about BPC 151, TB 500, and some of these compounds that really give you results. There's a lot of lotions, potions, and supplements out there that we've been, and you take all these supplements, you never know if they really work, and you hear all this testimonials, you spend how much money, you consume it, you piss most of it out, right? Garbage. Well, peptides are injections. A lot of people are afraid of injections, unless you're like maybe diabetic. Um, but I was willing to dive down at why, because quality of life was important to me. And with all the research available, I was just like, let's do this. And actually, a friend of mine brought a bunch of peptides here to Costa Rica and asked if I wanted to try them out. And at first, I was like, inject it? Hell no, I'm not about that. I started to do the research. And then she told me that she had a source. She explained it to me as a trustworthy friend. And then we went and proceeded to say, well, can we test these? And it was like, yeah, you can get them tested. You can test stuff from companies. It's not cheap, a few $100s, $500, and there's like a bunch of different tests. You can test three main tests. One is tests for contamination of like fentanyl and stuff like that. Test for the purity of what it actually is, and also test for there's this one thing that can contaminate and actually cause you problems. So we went ahead and tested some of the stuff, and it was all perfect. And the reason is if you're using a reputable, known pharmacy compounding company, the chances are it's going to be pretty good because the stuff is pretty easy to make. That's why. So, once you find a source, you can learn and you can get a hold of, like an insulin needle is very easy. So, anyways, my story started taking that for injuries, and I was amazed. It knocked down my inflammation, helped me heal my shoulder and my knee. I also did stem cells. I never got surgery. I've been told I was supposed to get surgery for both my knees. And I use stem cells and peptides to literally not need it. And you would never know. I can run, I can surf. I surf at a pretty good level at my age, and that's thanks to stem cells and peptides. Well, in my 40s and 50s, I found it hard to lose weight. I was stuck at about 230 pounds. I'm a big, pretty relatively big guy, but my fighting weight is like, well, I'm going to say 195, 200. And I dieted, got rid of gluten, dairy, all that. And I couldn't lose the weight. I got down to about 225, 222. And my body just would not let me go any less. So I was like, I asked my friend about the peptides, and she was like, well, tirzepatide is the next evolution of Ozempic, safer, better. And I also learned that you don't need to take the prescription amount. If you're like a big dude and you go, they're going to prescribe you a lot more than you actually need. That's what I learned. And what I found out is you can literally, we say microdose it, and it'll take a little bit longer, but it'll help with the food noise and that cravings. And then fast forward to a much better compound called retatrutide. It actually fixes your metabolism. There's a doctor, Trevor, online. You can look him up. He does master classes on all this stuff. And so I tried tirzepatide for a while. I got my weight down easily without trying. Didn't feel craving. I actually got healthier because I made better food choices. And then I moved over to retatrutide. I currently weigh about 207. And my diet choices are so much better because the food noise is gone. And I just do an injection once a week. And I actually feel great on it. I have had no side effects. And I take a lot less than what a doctor would prescribe to you. And I just do it over a period of time. And then I get off for 2 or 3 weeks after, say, 3 months, let the receptors rejuvenate. And it's been a game changer for me. And I've helped my house cleaner, who, same thing, food noise. She was getting bigger and fatter over time. And same thing, I got her on it. She lost a bunch of weight. She's actually like feeling good about herself, looking pretty good. I didn't even know she was capable of looking as good as she does. And it's changed her life. And it's because A, food noise, B, you just make better choices of what you eat, which in return will make you a lot healthier. And she did her blood work. And after being on these peptides for 3 weeks, her doctor was surprised. Her doctor said, all your blood markers and your everything that I can see shows that you're now healthy and in much better shape. And this was after losing about, she lost a lot, like 6, 7 pounds the very first month, because like anything, you get faster results. And she's still on it, and she's losing about, I'm going to say, about a 3/4 of a pound every week at this point on, like I said, low dose. She makes better food choices, and it's just, she doesn't have to try. It just makes it easy. So anyways, do your own research. But last thing I want to do is I want to take a look at this website of MedV. So this is the company right here. Look at the marketing. Look at all these happy fat people. Huh. Good marketing. And yeah, so that's what a peptide looks like. You inject it. You have to reconstitute it with bacterial static water, and then I like how they just say GLP medication. It's like, it really makes a difference of which one you're using. Like, I wouldn't recommend Ozempic. I wouldn't really recommend tirzepatide too much unless you can do very low dose. I would say that the consensus is retatrutide is the winner, and it works better. I currently take retatrutide. And like I said, it's a very small dose. And when I get to 200 pounds, which is only 2 kilos more, I'm probably going to maybe wean off it and see if I can see how I go that way. So anyways, guys, I just want to do this quick video. Well, I don't know if it's a quick video, but just get you on that. So yeah, so anyways, the one-person billion-dollar company isn't coming anymore. It's here. MedV is the proof concept, FDA letter and all. What Gallagher did isn't replicable in every industry, but the principle is AI handles execution. You own the customer relationship. Smart outsourcing handles the rest. The playbook is visible now. If you want to keep watching this space, yeah, anyways, subscribe, and let's dig into this stuff. I'll keep you guys updated, comment, and let's get it. Until the next video, let us get it.